As a child, I was not described as hopeful. Instead, I had my head in the clouds or was overambitious. A little girl with big dreams and an overactive imagination, often believing in things unfounded or fictitious. But this is just the way that kids are, right? I guess because they haven't been in the world long enough for society's expectations to dim their light. They lean into their feelings. They haven't come up against glass ceilings or brick walls nor met rock bottom yet, so they can think outside the box. They tangle the truth, tie what we know in knots. They keep asking why, even when grown-ups have no other reply than just because. They're not told they have to make it. They're just encouraged to play, and at first, arts and crafts are part and parcel of a typical school day. Until secondary, in GCSEs, when everything else becomes secondary to academic progress. So unless you're going to be a graphic designer, an architect, or an artistic high flyer, creative expression is discouraged, going into an ever earlier retirement. And a shortening supply of funding for art supplies leaves students who choose creative pursuits in a situation ever more dire, and let's not even start on the wider underfunding of the arts. Actually, we probably should, seeing as this talk is about the importance of creativity. So I'll return to that box, the one I mentioned earlier that kids can still think themselves out of. To think outside that box, we must be multi-dimensional. To make credible change to our current landscape and free ourselves from capitalist and colonial chains, we must move freely, flexible. So when governments divest from the arts, it's more than intentional to simmer down and dim us down to the powerful. That's preferable, because creatives make this light. It's like bioluminescence. From the shadows of our past to future steps and right directions, it's all about the process. It's not about perfection. Creating is a blessing and a gift that can guide us in the present. But I'll go back to my past. I've wanted to change the world ever since I was a little girl. And I loved arts and crafts, held each one close to my heart like a string of pearls. Creating offered an escape from the conflict in my mind and the violence in my home. Drawing characters, writing stories, or theatrical plays for Barbies calmed me and helped me feel less alone. Creativity gave me hope. Artistic expression made me so much more able to stay stable through the chaos, but it couldn't be my job. So studying and working had to take up all my time, and any time for hobbies was lost. Soon, I lost my mind. In school, I seemed fine, but by my early 20s, I could barely bear the thought of continuing with my life. Diagnosed with a disordered personality, close to chemically comatose, dosed up on antipsychotics to stop this descent into madness and return to reality. But what's mad for me is it took years of treatment and eventually paying for private therapy to see what was missing. I'd let go of any outlets for creative expression. So I set out on a mission to change my life sentence, starting with a pen and a blank page, then learning I prefer it in my phone's notes section. I aimed for one open mic, and that opened my mind to bigger dreams. I saw it clearly in 2020, so raised my voice at protests aplenty, and since then, my poetry has been commissioned by bigwigs like the Dome and the Council, and I've contributed to policies. I've gone from narrowly avoiding arrest for speaking up to speaking at conferences for police. From tiny year twos all the way up to university degrees, my words have been shared to educate and create a world with more empathy. I've co-created more spaces for Black and marginalised communities and co-founded an anti-racist CIC, and now I see that none of this would have been possible if I didn't make space for my creativity. I often wonder how wonderful the world could be if we were all encouraged to create more, not just to make more like machines, but maybe just to play more, make art a bit more of a game or less of a competition. Because you can win without winning. Take Tracy Emin, turning heads for the Turner Prize by turning her hurt into artwork. An Unmade Bed said so much about depression, started conversations and gained more attention for mental health care and crisis interventions. We might help ourselves and others feel a little lighter when we choose to showcase or write about our darkness and our pain. Some stitch over stigma or sow seeds for political progress and medical research with artwork like the AIDS memorial quilt, while others offer creative routes to engage with other complex issues like climate change by painting potent pictures of the futures we might face. It doesn't always come in tidal waves, but creativity welcomes a trickling of hope for tomorrow's today. Art allows us to share and feel and empathize, helps us step into another's shoes or see the view from other walks of life, like Rafat al-Harir's poem, If I Must Die, now a rallying cry for allies to fight for freedom and liberation for Palestine and Congo and Sudan and for all people in all nations living under tyranny and violent occupations. And I truly believe that if we make more time to make art, maybe we can create new ways to keep the world from falling apart, because art is at the heart of every revolution, harnessing people power to challenge the powers that be and topple institutions. Because everything doesn't have to stay the same. Some shifts are so big, but most are so small that change isn't even noticed right away. Like, caterpillars don't just decide to fly one day. They gorge on food, then let go of their skins. They fill up on what fuels them, then remove any unnecessary things. They hang on to hope, yet hang upside down, shedding skin to shape a restrictive shell in hopes of growth in leaps and bounds. It sounds backwards, but a butterfly is a sorcerer or sorceress of metamorphosis, crafting a chrysalis to create a monumental shift. And have you ever wondered what goes on underneath? We can see the surface, but what happens behind the scenes? See, these caterpillars can envision the bigger picture. Though the process is painful, they will break down everything they know. Bodies melodically transformed from solid to liquid to solid again, and then a breakthrough, an emergence of energy, emerging renewed eventually, first with crumpled wings, then pumping blood through veins, something special, stunning change, setting sail into unknown ways, yet still retaining the same DNA. Anyway, I say all this to say, you have to hold on to hope, even when it's ugly or unsolidified. We have to try to break down what we know in order to reimagine a future where we can find hope. A future abundant with growth and change, because we let go of old ways to make way for wings. And everything we needed was already within us, taking flight to fresh perspectives so we can see things from above. Trust the process. Bear your soul and bear witness. Do not let this liquid gold slip between your fingertips. Instead, let's bring back finger painting. Remember how it feels to feel creative, to just have a go and feel the flow on your skin. Mark our sleeves with our hearts and throw ourselves in. So let's take that box and tear it apart. Don't stay in or shut the lid. Aren't you scared of the dark? That old cardboard is better used as a base for new art forms. Creativity cannot be contained if we wish to find new ways to get to brighter days. Artistic expression lessens the darkness, whether crafting for new futures, a part-time hobby, or just child's play. Art moves us, sparks movements, offers new ways through and proven solutions. So if it starts a conversation, ignites a flame or sensation, acts as a source of inspiration to spark a special something, or just encourages someone to get creative, is that not change in action? Imagine if Maya Angelou hadn't written I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings or recited And Still I Rise. A cornerstone would be missing from the movement for civil rights. She gave people oppressed by white supremacy wings to take flight. And as she'd write so many wrongs, and she did not act alone. Alongside the likes of Nina Simone, they gave meaning to the struggle, raised voices and made forces join with their poems and their songs, forging paths towards a better future, one where we can all belong. Maya is someone I truly admire. I mean, I'm a poet. And since knowing she stepped upon this stage on her very own birthday for the Brighton Festival on the 4th of April 1998, I hoped one day I could do the same and commemorate her in my own poetic way. And if you check today's date, somehow that's happened. A beautiful poetic fate. But this isn't just luck or chance. In one hand, I hold hope. In the other, I hold my craft. I have a dream I'm trying to reach, so creatively I'm carving a path. Re-engaging with the arts has changed and saved my life. Re-engaging with the arts has changed and saved my life. It may come in waves, but I already see my ripples traveling far and wide. And it might not change the world, but you cannot deny this poem packs a punch and it's palpable, right? Like, you can hear it with your ears, but do you feel it in your bones? I hope it moves you into making, because I am aching for you to know that we are all creators, whether we are mindful mantra makers or landscape-saving painters or writers armed with ink writing no to wrongs and hatred. So to the literal and literary laborers, to the head in the clouds note takers, to the ones holding it together by holding a paintbrush, to the narrators of the change and the rhymers who could chime on for days, and whatever your name is, just get creative. Whatever happens, we have hope and the future's in our hands. We just have to make it. Thank you.